Well, hi everyone. I'm teacher Juan Pablo, and today we're going to talk about simple present tense and its uses. We use simple present tense basically to talk about two different facts. The first one is the first use of simple present tense is when we want to share facts. We refer to facts when we're talking about something that is real, something that is true. For example, I speak English. I speak English. And we notice that speak is something real and it's in simple present tense. Another example is he works in New York City. Works. He works in New York City. This is also in simple present tense. In next example, in this example, we have they don't live in France. Don't live. They don't live in France. We notice that it's a negative sentence. Another use of simple present tense is when we express regular actions. For example, items in a schedule or a timetable. Let's go to the examples. For example, I visit my parents every week. I visit my parents. I visit. How? Well, when do I do this action? Every week. In the next example, we have the bus leaves at 8 a.m. Leaves. Leaves is in simple present tense, and it's referring to a timetable. 8 a.m. Something that happens. In the final example, we find she doesn't call me every day and says doesn't call me. And we notice that this sentence is negative. Okay, so this means that it doesn't happen every day. She doesn't call me every day. How do we structure the positive statements in simple present tense? First, this is very, very important that we have to notice the subject. This is very, very important, the subjects, and we're going to divide it into two. The first subjects that we have is the subjects I, you, we, and they. Then we add the infinitive form of the verb plus a complement, something, something. But on the other hand, if we have the subjects he, she, it, okay, we have to use the infinitive verb form, okay, the base form of the verb, plus we have to add an S sound. For example, S, ES, IES, to the verb, okay, I'll show you later, and a complement. Let's go to the structure. When are we going to use ES to the verbs? Well, if this verb ends in double S, O, SH, CH, TCH, X, and Z, we're going to add ES. And for example, if the verb ends in a consonant, okay, plus Y, we are going to remove the Y and we are going to add IES. Let's go to the examples. Here we have the first example and says, we something every day. And we notice the verb is cook. If we refer to the verb, to the subject we notice that the verb does not need an S sound. So we have the verb cook. What do we have? We cook every day. We cook every day. So in this case, no S sound is needed. In the next example, he something reports every Saturday. Every Saturday. Okay, simple present tense. And we have the verb write. In this case, we notice that we have the subject he, and we have the verb write. Okay, so what happens here? He writes reports every Saturday. In this case, the only one thing that we have to do according to the verb is add the S sound. Writes. He writes. Okay. In the next example, she something to London every month. And we have the verb fly. We notice, we remember, okay, the verb, it has a Y ending preceded by a consonant, and we understand as a consonant as letters that are not vowels, okay? So what happens here? She flies, okay? We have to change the Y by the ending I-E-S, flies. She flies to London once a month, okay? What about with negative? In the negative form, okay, the subject is also very, very important. So we have the subjects I, you, we, and they, and then we have to add the particle don't, the expression don't, okay, plus the infinitive verb, okay, the infinitive verb form that I talked about previously, and a complement. But if the subject is he, she, or it, okay, we use doesn't, plus infinitive verb plus something. In this case, we use don't and doesn't in contracted form because it is much more used in spoken language. Okay, so what do we have here? In the examples, we have he, something, a house. And by the verb, we notice that we say not have, not. Not is a negative sentence, refers to a negative sentence. So if we refer to the subject, the first thing we have to add doesn't. He doesn't plus the base form of the verb. What do we have? He doesn't have. He doesn't have a house. He doesn't have a house. In the next example, it says, I, something on Sundays. Not work, and we notice that it's a negative sentence. Okay, I, and we write don't, and then the base verb. Don't work on Sundays. I don't work on Sundays. What about if we want to make questions? Well, to make questions, again, the subject is very, very important, okay? In the negative form, we notice that we use do with the subjects I, you, we, they, plus the infinitive verb-based form, plus something, the complement, okay? And we use does, plus he, she, or it, plus infinitive verb, plus something. Okay, this is very, very important. The subject is very, very important. Okay, and something that we have to notice is that in the first place, we have the particle do, does, okay, in the question. In the first example, we have something, you, something here. And we have the verb study. If we go to the structure, we have a you, we notice that we need do. Do you? Do you? What is next? The verb. Do you study? The base form, no change. Do you study here? Do you study here? Good. In the next example, we have he. Well, we have something, then he, something in Pachuca. By the structure, we notice that we need a does. Does he? Does he? Does he live in Pachuca? Does he live in Pachuca? Very good. In the next example, we notice that we have a question word. Question word refers to questions that are asking for something, some specific information. In the first two ones, they are yes, no questions because the answer is yes or no. Do you study here? Yes. Do you study here? No. Okay, so in the next example, it's asking for something. What? Something we, something for the test. And we have the verb need. We go to the rule, we go to the structure, we say we notice that we use do. What do we need for the test? What do we need for the test? Okay. The next example, we say when, time. When something, she, something to New York. And then we have the verb go. When she, we use the word does. When does she go to New York? When does she go to New York? Okay, and this is the way we use the simple present tense. Thank you for your attention. See you. Bye bye.
Este video es presentado por el Sistema Ciencia Garza Educativa de la Universidad Autónoma del Estado de Hidalgo.